I won't be able to say much about it. Oh, go this way. All right. Okay, so this evening I'm going to talk to you a little bit about emerging diseases that threaten food security and also threaten your breakfast. So all of you probably take it for granted. You have coffee, you have bananas, you have oranges on the table in the morning. These crop plants are all threatened by emerging plant diseases. And this is what I study in my day job, and it's what keeps me up at night. In 1845, the potato famine hit Ireland. This is a painting by David MacDonald. The Irish people uncovering the crop plants. The potato tubers are dead from late blight. This is a pathogen that devastated food security and caused a national security crisis in Ireland. And in fact, if you go to the harbor in Philadelphia, you'll see this famine monument there. The migration of people. We heard the last speaker talk about the migration of people from Mexico. Migrants have been coming to our country for centuries, and many of them not just because of religious persecution, but because of food security issues. The Irish famine caused 2 million people to die, and another 2 million migrated. And interestingly enough, this famine memorial in Philadelphia Harbor, this was the site of the first introduction of late blight into the U.S. in the ports of Philadelphia and New York. Someone asked the question a while ago about seed. This pathogen moves in potato seed, and that's how it still migrates around the world. So I told you 40 million people can claim Irish descent. Do we have any Irish people in the audience drinking beer? Yep, I say it's a pretty big group, so probably maybe 25% in this room. I'm part Irish, part Italian, but yeah, a lot of people can claim Irish descent because of the famine. We have monuments, and in Philadelphia, this is a monument at Harvard Square to the famine. Lots of Irish in Boston. Food security issues are not just something from the 19th century. We have food crises globally in the world. This is a drawing diagram from an IFPRI document showing that when food price hikes occur, we have political unrest globally. In fact, some claim that the Arab Spring was a result of food price hikes. And Secretary John Kerry said a lack of access to food leads to malnutrition, instability, and even violence. The food riots in the Middle East have led to conflict. Development assistance is much less expensive than defense. The idea of development money, every dollar that goes into development assistance is a dollar well spent in helping people to feed themselves. And Paul showed you earlier the amazing progress that's been made in the last 20 years to reduce hunger globally, but we still have a lot of efforts ahead. So I'm going to tell you about your breakfast, and I just went too quickly here, so I'm going to have to back up. Pathogens are causing problems right now in the United States and Florida. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but there's a disease called citrus greening, HLB, that was not present in Florida 10 years ago. This diagram on the upper right-hand corner shows just the decline in yield of oranges due to citrus greening. You know, from about 80,000 boxes, this is 1,000 tons per acre, down to, this ends in 2013, but we're down to like 40,000. The orange crop in Florida is threatened. Orange growers are growing out of business, and if you take a drive anywhere in Florida now, you're going to see a lot of dead citrus trees. This pathogen was introduced. It's from China, and there's a vector, this Asian citrus psyllid, that vectors the disease. The big lesson to learn from this devastating disease is we have to keep an eye on what's going on internationally. We need to know where plant diseases are occurring globally outside our borders so we can protect our country and our major food crops when these things immigrate in. And right now we don't have a disease surveillance network that's globally out there to monitor, not like the World Health Organization has with human diseases, and we need to work on that. So in Florida, they're doing heat treatments. They're even using dogs to detect dead trees. They're using new bactericides. They've got resistance to insecticides, so it's a big problem. So that's oranges. Now if we move to bananas, a big important disease in Central America is black sigatoka. This pathogen was actually introduced by plant breeders in Honduras in the 1970s, trying to solve another disease problem. They brought in banana corms, the seed plants of banana, and brought the pathogen in. And so now Dole and Chiquita have to spray 70 fungicide applications a season just to control this disease, and there are huge amounts of fungicide use, downstream impacts on people, migrants that work in the areas, and they need a better banana, and they also have monoculture of a highly susceptible crop. We have thousands of acres of a single clone grown in Central America, and that puts the population of bananas at risk. And there's another pathogen that's new on the horizon, moving from west to east, these red dots. This is Panama disease. Bananas in the 1960s, 70s were a different variety than we grow now. They were Gros Michel. Because one race of Panama disease occurred, everybody switched to growing Cavendish, that susceptible variety I just showed you, to Sigatoka, and now a new race, tropical race 4, is migrating slowly from Australia into Southeast Asia. There's been a report in Mozambique and also in the Middle East in Jordan. It's just a matter of time before Cavendish is going to be threatened. This is a soil-borne pathogen. Once it's in the soil, they can't get rid of it, and it's spread with farming equipment. So this is a plant disease that's on the move. A second problem for bananas. Coffee rust. Well, I spent a year as a Jefferson Science Fellow at USAID in the group that Paul Weisenfeld was leading in Washington, and coffee rust came on the horizon. This disease is present in Central America. It's always been at low levels, but climate change is impacting the disease, and we have huge areas of plantations that are defoliated, and growers are having to move to higher altitudes to grow the crop. Problem is old plantations greater than 40 years old and lack of resistance to this disease. And there could be a new race of the pathogen as well, but the biology hasn't been done, so there's a need to do more biology. I work on the pathogen that caused the potato famine, and in 2009 we had widespread outbreaks of late blight in the U.S. due to the movement of this disease on tomato transplants that you can buy in big box stores like Home Depot. It moved from one location in the southeast to Home Gardens, and it was reported, I think there was a slide missing here, it was reported on in the New York Times. You say tomato, I say agriculture disaster. Now we don't eat only tomatoes in the U.S. like the Irish did in 1845, but we had outbreaks that were significant and severe. And so this orchestrated a movement amongst a bunch of plant pathologists to, whoops, I hit the button too many times, to organize a disease alert and database systems. We have a global alert system called, a U.S. alert system called USA Blight. We use geospatial analytics, we have cell phone text messaging when the pathogen's in the area. We're genotyping using microsatellite analysis, and we're providing growers a decision support tool that allows them to know what lineage is nearby and what fungicide they need to spray to control. We're also developing handheld diagnostic tools using lamp assays and cell phones and tablets for detection of this pathogen, because it not only moves in potatoes, but it moves in tomatoes, and it moves in the ripe tomatoes that are shipped from Florida in the winter. So I mentioned the need for disease alert and surveillance networks globally. Right now, we really don't have this for a lot of plant diseases, and a group of us at NC State, in conjunction with CABI and some other universities, are trying to develop a kind of a dynamic network modeling system that uses citizen sciences for disease detection, data mining of social media and media scraping, weather data, historical disease outbreak data, and looking at trade networks and how pathogens move with trade and transportation. So we have a lot of different layers of information. We really need the computer technology and the disease dynamic network modelers and geospatial analytics capability to develop this. And so I'm working on an effort at NC State. We've just been funded by the Provost's office, and we're hiring 4 new faculty on this emerging disease and global food security cluster. We had a big symposium in March, brought in some of the top thinkers in the area, and we've made offers to 2 faculty. We're hiring in population genomics, emerging disease biology, and engineering to do disease detection devices from cell phones, and then geospatial analytics. So I think we can use technology to solve food disease problems and food security issues globally, and we're moving in that direction now with these collaborations across colleges at NC State, and we're also starting a food security certificate program and a food security center at the university. And with that, I will take questions.